Welcome to the Gold Conference. We are on our last session for today. And I appreciate, we had a really good session beforehand, nice big crowd. So, and it's nice to see everybody's faces on a Friday morning. So we have Jordan Maxwell and Clayton Kolb from the Sykes Union who are going to give us a demonstration or a walkthrough of 25 Live. And it's great to see some of our admin support here because we know you are top users of this system. So thank you, and we'll hand it over to Clayton and Jordan.
Thank you. I think Jordan and I are, this is a little more casual, so there's no like true formal PowerPoint presentation, but we're going to share screens and actually do like tutorial walkthroughs of how to do some things. Our goal is to give you some tips and tricks and show you some things. And then we want to definitely leave a lot of room for questions or like, how do I find this? We're going to do things from, Jordan's going to walk you through the event form and talk and integrate policy and practice into this. I'm going to do some things where how you can create your own search and save your search so that you can always have specific rooms that you're always going to use, that you can always look at that in availability so you don't have to go searching for them. And so we'll do some things like that. So I think that's where we'll start. So Jordan, I'm going to pass it over to you if you want to start with the event form process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. Make sure that I find the right screen here. Okay. Everyone can see my screen now, just to confirm?
We can, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So this is the homepage on 25 Live after you log in. If you are familiar with the login process, it's just your Westchester University login information, but your username will be your email, just without the @wcupa.edu at the end, and then go ahead.
Sorry. I was saying one thing, it might look different for us. You can change your setting of your page to be the black like this or the white.
Yeah.
So like Jordan's is black, mine is black because I like everything in dark mode because it's better on my eyes. But so it's the same platform. It's just you have the option to do that. We can show you how to do that too. Sorry, Jordan. I just want to make sure.
That's okay. That's okay. So this is the homepage basically that you'll see when you log into 25 Live. And the event form is this button right up here at the top ribbon. And this is basically the form that you would use if you want to make a reservation request anywhere on campus, essentially. So I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of some of the information that this event form looks for and some of the information that we look for as the Sykes building administrators to kind of help you fill out this form to the best of your ability so that we have as much information as possible and we don't have to email you 100 million times asking for different room sets and things of that nature.
Jordan, can I ask you a question? My form looks totally different. When I just click on 25 Live, it doesn't look anything like that. Before I sign in, is this what yours looks like after you sign in?
So before I sign in, so I'll just sign out so that way you can take a look at what it looks like. Oh, I'm still signed in. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So this is what it looks like before you sign in.
Mine doesn't look like that either, but maybe mine just has the select object and the save searches at the top.
Mine is the same, Barb. I only see what you were saying too.
Yeah. Is it because different people have different levels of use, maybe?
I don't think so. I think that that should be pretty uniform across all users.
Because when I try and follow like the PowerPoint presentation where it says, my form doesn't look like what it's telling me I should be seeing on my screen. So I've just kind of been poking around at it.
So is this, I'm putting a link. Nope, I didn't do that. A link in the chat. I'm just curious when you go to that. For a moment.
Okay, so when you put a link in the chat, how do you get it to show on your screen?
Just click it.
Click on it?
Yeah. And it should open up a window.
This is a different view than I usually get when I sign in. So this, hopefully this works for you, Barb.
This is what you're showing, but it's not what I get when I sign in.
But so you're
I mean,
saying,
before I sign in, when I just click on the 25 live
yeah,
from, you
the
know,
link we just shared in the chat, does it look like this now on the screen?
yes, it
Okay.
does.
So maybe save this and bookmark this, because maybe there's a different, like this is a 25 live pro WCU one. And so maybe there may be another like generic 25 live. That's what you're seeing. So maybe we can bookmark this and save it.
Is this the screen that you see?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the screen I see.
Sometimes,
Me
so
too.
this does happen actually sometimes when you log in. It'll bring you to the search screen instead of the home page. If you want to
Yes.
get to the home page, you just hit the 25 Live Pro button up here at the
I
top.
figured that out this morning.
Yeah, and it'll bring you to this page here. So that, yeah, okay, so that does happen a few times. That actually happens with me a lot when I sign in. So it'll start me on this page, and then as soon as I sign in, it brings me directly to this search page.
You have to hit the 25 Live Pro.
Yeah, so the 25 Live Pro is the button that brings you to the home page. And then from here, or even from that search, you know, the event form button will stay at the top ribbon. So you could just click on the event form button to go to the event form that you would fill out to submit a request for a reservation.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So it starts off just with an event name. So whatever your event will be titled, if it's a meeting for your department, or if it's a event that has a specific name. So thinking off the top of my head, like Wellness Promotion has their checkup from the neck up event. So that's what they would put for their event, or anything from Res Life and Housing Services, they would put that in their event name. So just for this training purposes, I'll just do a Kolb conference. Oops. And then you don't have to worry about event title for published calendars. And then you move down to event type. And this is where there's a little drop down menu here, and you can select from any one of these preset options here. If you don't see something that perfectly matches exactly what your event will be, just try to find something as closely related as possible. This selection doesn't really affect too much your reservation or the request for a reservation. So for this, I'll just scroll down and find the meeting option, and I'll select that as the event type. And then you'll select your primary organization for the event. So whatever your office name is, for this, I'll just type in Sykes, and it'll bring up the Sykes Student Union, but you could type in whatever your office name is, and it should bring it up for you here. And you would select that, so that way it attaches it to your office, so we know exactly who's utilizing the space. If you're collaborating with another office, you can add them here under additional organizations for the event. If you just hit edit, you can add their organization. You can search for it here, but we won't be doing that today. For expected attendance, we really hope that folks can try to accurately guesstimate essentially what your attendance will look like, because this helps us with setup of the rooms. So once we get down to the room location, I'll show you the different layouts that different rooms have. But the attendance is really what helps us set up for the number of chairs that you might be asking for, or number of tables or things of that nature. So we kind of ask that the attendance be as accurate as you think it can be. If you want to overestimate, that's totally fine. But we just want this to be as accurate as possible, if possible. So we'll say 50 just for the time
Can
being.
I ask you another question?
Of course.
Right now, the numbers that are set up for each of the locations, are they like socially distanced numbers, or are they back full capacity numbers?
Yeah, right now we're back full capacity. So all of the room capacities should be max capacity. If you do run into the situation where maybe we missed a potential layout that might not be at full capacity, just let us know and we can edit that on our end, so that way it matches what the full capacity should be.
It just helps us for when we try and find a room. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So after the attendance, you can go into the event description box. And this is where, if you so choose, you can add a little bit more detail about your event. If you want to add specific setup needs, you could put that in this section here. Or there's another section at the bottom that I'll show you a little bit later that you can add those as well. So any more additional information that goes beyond your event name and you want to add that to the event description, this is the section that you would utilize to put that information. Then you can move down into the event date and time section. And here you can actually click this little box and it'll bring up a calendar view for you. And you can search through the different months. If you want to go through years, you would hit these double arrows and it'll bring you to the next year for that month. So let's say for sake of argument, we're looking for a January event that starts on January 12th, a Wednesday at around, let's say 2 p.m. and goes for an hour and a half until 3:30. The event begins and ends on the same day. If you have an event that's running into another day, say if it's a longstanding reservation for an outdoor field location or a ballroom setup or things of that nature, you can uncheck this box and actually pick which date the event will go until. So let's say for argument's sake, it'll be going until the 13th at 3:30 p.m. We can have that as an option. Or if it's just the same day, you'll just keep this box checked and it'll stay on January 12th. If you need additional setup or breakdown time, you can add that in this additional time section here. And you see there's days, hours, or minutes for setup, pre-event, post-event, and takedown time. So we've introduced a new policy where all of our spaces actually have pre-built setup and takedown time. But if you need more, you can add that here. All of our meeting spaces, so our second floor rooms, and I think 10B all have 15-minute buffers on the beginning and the end of a reservation now. And that's for all reservations. Sure.
Because when I was trying to do that the other day and I saw the event and it's in the grid, the little squares, and I couldn't click on the next space to get that time. It wouldn't let me. Is that because of the breakdown and the setup times that are built in, but they're not showing on when you're just searching locations? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And we can show you the availability view and the calendar view and what it looks like also, and kind of how to navigate the buffer also in that view.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So all of our meeting spaces, our second floor rooms and 10B have a 15-minute buffer on the beginning and end of all events. So it's about 30 minutes between the start time and end time of each event. Our theater 10A and 115 have half an hour buffers or an hour between each start and end time of the events. And the ballrooms have an hour buffer or 2 hours between each event. So those are pre-built. If you need additional time, you can add that in this additional time section, and you'll see it once you select your location. Actually, then this will autofill with the buffers already placed in for you. If you know that your event is a recurring event or a repeating event, you can click this repeating pattern button here, and it'll open up this pattern picker, and you can choose ad hoc dates, daily, repetition, weekly, or monthly. For weekly, you can choose that it repeats every week or every other week, third week, fourth week, whatever the case might be for your event. Let's say it's every other week for the sake of this example on Wednesdays, and repeats through, you could either do a specific date or for a certain number of iterations. So let's say this goes until April 20th. And we can just hit the select pattern button and you'll see this calendar auto populate with all of the dates pre-selected based on the repeating pattern that we've selected. And you can also look into this view all occurrences button, and it'll give you a list view of all the dates that you've selected. And this tool specifically is useful if there's ever a date where you need to change the time of that specific iteration. You can actually do that in this view. So let's say for March 9th, instead of 2 p.m., we wanted to start a little bit earlier at 10 a.m. until 11:30. So it's still that hour and a half, but it starts at a different time than the rest of our occurrences do. You could do that in this view here, or you could just remove dates that you actually don't think that you'll need from this view also. And then we'll move down into the locations search. And for this search, we want to make sure that we uncheck the enforce headcount button, just in case we do, like Barb, you were saying, run into that issue of maybe we missed a set and it's still set for social distancing in the room or something like that. If this button is checked, it won't show you that space, even if that space is available. So if it's something where you think your attendance is a little bit flexible and you think that maybe we don't have to stick to the hard attendance count of that space, you just want to make sure that that space is unchecked. So that way you can see all of the spaces available to you. And then for the different locations, there is a drop-down menu with some pre-built location searches, and we'll actually show you how to pre-build some custom searches for you a little bit later. But for the sake of this, I'll just show you how to search all of Sykes, and our building code is SYK. So you just type in SYK into the search bar, hit enter, and it'll populate all of the different options that we have available in Sykes. Some of these aren't reservable spaces, but it still will show you everything that we have available in the building. So you can kind of look through and determine what space it is that you want to use for this event, and it'll show you the different options that you have. So you can see here the Sykes Theater has this reserve available button. That's because over in this availability section, only 7 out of the 8 iterations that we selected are available. So you can look in this conflict details and it'll show you, okay, Wednesday, April 6th, the theater is not available, but all of the other 7 dates that we have chosen are available. So if we want to still use that space, we can hit reserve available and it'll reserve the Sykes Theater for all of the available spaces except for that April 6th date that we have selected because there is a poetry festival going on in that room at that same time. And if we want to find a space where all of the dates are available, you can see the 8 out of 8 here, and then the button will be green. So you can see that it's good to go. You don't have to worry about a conflict. You can utilize that space for all of your dates. And then you can also check the default capacity for each space. So remember how we noted that our attendance would be 50. And we could see down here that 10B, Sykes 10B wouldn't really fit that capacity because the max default capacity is only 35. So we would need to look for another space that can house the 50 people that we have chosen. So let's say Sykes 115, that button is green, 8 out of 8 availability. So that would work for us. So we would hit this reserve button and it'll populate down here. And once you see this blue object pop up down, then you know that that location has been assigned to this reservation request. And then that moves to our task list for approval. And this is also where you would select the layout of a space. So you can go into the view occurrences button here, and you can see the layout for each different date that you've selected. If you want to change the layout for all the dates, you can go into the set for all, go to this drop-down menu, and you can see all of the different options that we have available. We're working on building diagrams so you could see what each set would look like in the space. So you can kind of get a little bit of a visual reference of how it would look, make sure that it's set up for your needs. But it also
That's
gives
only
you
for Sykes, or is
yes.
that? So I was trying to find some space in like the business building.
No, it should be the same for all buildings, I'm pretty sure.
Perfect.
So it would give you this option if all of the different meeting spaces in other buildings have different layouts available for you to utilize.
Yeah, I was about to say it depends on the space. Some spaces don't have flexible, like because they don't have staff to flip the room. So a lot of them are set to be, there's only one layout.
Right.
So we have the most flexibility in this building because we have a staff dedicated to that. So that would probably be your best bet if you needed to be something other than what was preset.
So we can change the layout of all of the dates. So let's say we want round tables with chairs. We would go down to this tables, rounds with chairs. This basically means the circular tables, and we could fit 8 seats per table, per round table. So we could select that and you can see it'll change the layout for all of the dates in our reservation. If there's a specific day, let's say for this March 9th, where we change the time for it, if we want to have a different setup for that date, we can go specifically to this date's drop-down box and change that to, let's say, a conference square. So that way all of the others are rounds with chairs, but this one specific date is a conference square, maybe because we have less people or it's a different nature of the meeting, whatever the case might be. And we can close that out. So now that's all set up, and it will give you this warning that the capacity of this layout is a little bit smaller than our attendance count originally. If that's the case, I don't know if there's a way, Clayton, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if there's a way you could change the attendance on a specific date.
Yeah, if you go back and view occurrences and scroll, down in the room setup there. I think if you scroll over to the right,
Oh, yes.
you could change the attendance there. That should be able to take care of it. And when you go to save it, it should be fine.
Okay. So that's a way that you can work around that roadblock if it gives you any trouble. But that's how you would select your room or your space and your layout that you need for that space. Then you can move down into this event, additional event resources. And this is where you would select any additional resource that you think that you need for your event. So if it's microphones, if it's a laptop, if it's tables or chairs, things of that nature, you can just type in, so I'll type mic for microphone, and it'll bring up this list of options here that you'll see. And it'll show you the different offices that these resources are coming from. And when you're utilizing the Sykes building, you want to make sure that you're looking for the Sykes code before each resource, because we don't control the Digital Media Center's resources. Even though they're available to be reserved, they're not part of our resource list. So we want to make sure that we're selecting the Sykes resources from this list. So say we need a microphone, so we could reserve a microphone for this day. Let's say we need a laptop. We can search that. And then again, you'll see the Digital Media Center resources also pop up. We want to make sure that we're using the Sykes. So we'll add this to our reservation. If we need tables, we can look that up and it'll bring up all the different tables that we have available.
What if you need multiple microphones? Like if you want for question and answers, is there, it was too quick, I missed it. Can you put numbers in there?
Absolutely. So I'll actually remove this for now. And actually you see this number here that's on the left-hand side. You can, so we have a total of 7 available microphones in the building. So let's say you needed 3, you can put the number 3 here and reserve that. And then when it pops down here, you can go to view occurrences and you'll see that the quantity is 3 for all the dates that you selected. So you can request multiple different resources that way. I'll go back to the table because I'll show the different tables that we have available. So we do have high top tables. We have some outdoor tables if you're doing some outdoor tabling. These cream tables are our 2nd floor meeting room tables, and the gray tables are the 6-foot tables that we use in every other room in the building outside of the 2nd floor. The round gray tables for 7, these are the rounds that we would be using in the 115 room for this Gold Conference event that we're setting up here. Let's say we need 5 of them. We can reserve those 5 tables. And let's say that we'll also need 2 rectangle tables for food service or whatever the case might be. We can reserve those as well and add that to our reservation. So all of our additional resources will pop up here. And once they pop up below this search section, that's how you know it's attached to the reservation. And then down
Jordan,
here,
can I pop in for a sec?
Of course.
I think one thing that we're working to develop too is a resource list for everyone. So like if you were in Sykes 115, these are the resources that can go with that room. So that way it's less like that way you're like, wait, can I use the cream or do I use the gray? So that way it will help you better know like, okay, these are the things that can go and be used in that space. Worst case scenario, like just book the space. And if we need to touch base and have an event consultation meeting where we talk on Zoom or phone or in person and figure it out, we can help backload some of the equipment as well. So part of this is to help you think about this and put stuff in for yourself. And also like, that doesn't mean we won't help you.
Right, exactly. So once you're done selecting all your resources, you can scroll down to this comments box here. And this is basically where you can add, again, any additional information about the event that you feel is relevant for us to know. So any specific setup needs, any specific requests that you're looking to make, you can add those to this comment section for us, and we can make sure that we process that when we're going through the approval process for this reservation. And then once you're done with that, you can just scroll down here to this I agree button and hit save. And then your request will be submitted and it'll come to our task list for us to approve.
I'll also say the internal notes probably won't show up for you because that's
Mm-mm.
for us as event approvers, and the event state will always default to tentative. that's just, we just get to see both because we have admin access. Just for point of clarity.
Before I move off of the event form, I do want to show some locations that aren't within Sykes that you also might utilize. So if you're looking for...
Sorry, Kim, did you have a question? Yeah, now I can.
Oh, okay. If you chose to use a laptop that comes from the Digital Media Center or anything from there, do you go pick that up or do they have someone drop it off to where you are? Like, I don't know how that works.
I believe that you would have to pick it up from them.
Okay, just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, if it's not in Sykes, then you put in a request through like the IT. I think you have to put requests in. Well, we've done it for like Zooms and stuff like that. But when I did it for, well, Phillips is totally different. I did it for Phillips, they dropped it off, but I don't know if they do it for the other buildings. I don't know.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. No, I've not had to do that in the past, but just wanted to be sure.
No, that was a great question. Thanks for asking it. Okay, so if you were going to look for, if you're doing any outdoor programming and you want to say, find a field location like the academic quad or the residential quad or even Ram Park, which is the field location right off of the Sykes parking lot behind the building, you can actually type in FLD and it'll bring up all the different field locations on campus. So you can see FLD is Ram Park, that's the field right off of the Sykes parking lot. And then they also have all the location codes. And if you're just not sure what each location is, they have a title. So you can see, we can scroll through and we have FLD 323 is the residential quad. And then FLD 326 is the academic quad. So this FLD 326 is the green space within the academic quad. And then if you just want to do tabling out on the academic quad, you can actually select FLD 326C or FLD 326D. If you're looking for specific table locations, this is a fun fact. You can actually type in table in the location search, and it'll bring up all the different table vending locations that are available on campus. You can see the two academic quad tabling locations pop up here, and then Sykes, we have our own tabling locations built into 25 Live as well. So that's just a fun little tidbit that I actually just recently learned on 25 Live that I think would be useful for a lot of people to know.
Can you talk about the maps? Like when I'm trying to find outdoor locations, we do a lot. We have a health hut. We have a hut that can actually be set up outdoors. So I was trying to find a lot of outdoor locations, and it'll say like 25 University side lawn. Well, but there's nothing on the map to show where the side lawn is. So is there now a conclusive map that has all the locations that are choices in field and FLD that correspond to the map so you can look at them?
Yeah, we're
sorry, it's like Barb, it's like you're like giving the greatest intro to what I was just about to bring up. So like I'll send you the money in an envelope in the mail. So what Barb's speaking of, that for those who haven't seen it, we are in the process of creating like a outdoor campus map that corresponds with these field locations with the image and the code, so that because that doesn't exist, right? And so Barb has a sneak peek at our first iteration of it that I sent her as kind of like a helping stepping stone. We're in the process of updating that to have all of the field locations, specifically on the north part of campus, because most likely you're not reserving South Campus because that's all athletics. So we're just waiting for our graphic designers to kind of pull that out. And once we do, that will be a resource that will be made available to everybody. So to answer your question, yes, it will be forthcoming. So
it's
we're really
just very
excited.
helpful when you have peer eds that you're working with that are trying to set up events outside and I, don't know the location. So that's great.
Absolutely. This is a brand new resource. So we're excited to offer that for folks.
Great. Thank you.
So Clayton, when that resource becomes available, will that actually be linked in 25 Live, or will we have to keep it in a separate location and refer to it, like save it in something?
Diane, that's a very great question as well. Thank you for asking. So I'm working closely with Janine in the registrar's office to figure out how we can implement it within 25 Live. 25 Live is, let me back up. 25 Live is a scheduling software, not an event software, right? And so it has very it has a lot of limitations. And so we're going to see how we can potentially do that, whether it's in every field location as a layout or it's somewhere located. We're also going to put it on our website under our resources and potentially the registrar's resources as well. So it will be made available more broadly.
Great.
Just not sure quite yet where that will live, but definitely it will definitely be on our website under our event resources.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, 'cause right now I'm just, like, I just keep a folder.
Sorry, Jordan.
No, it's totally fine. It's all good stuff. So once you've gone through the event form and you have your location and all of your resources and you feel like you've filled out the form to the best of your abilities, you'll scroll down, check this I agree button and hit this save button here. And it should bring you to your event request reservation page. Just give it a moment to think a little bit.
While we're waiting for that.
Yes.
So I like to just print out the tentative thing so that I know that it's done. I mean, only because I do so many of them. It doesn't give you, when you print it, it doesn't give you the location. It only gives you the date and time. And I do multiple of these for 2 different departments. So I quickly go back and write it down, but I didn't understand why they don't give you the location on the print.
Yeah, it won't give you the location on your end until we go in and assign the location to your reservation.
So when you get the confirmation,
exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So once you see this page, your event is in a tentative request state, and that comes to our task list, which you could see I have a button up here for the tasks that I have to attend to. But until I assign that location to your reservation, it won't show a location because it hasn't been approved by an administrator yet. But what the important information for you to know off of this page is really this code up here. This is your event reference ID code. So if you ever need to ask one of the building administrators a question about your reservation, this is the code that you really want to bring to them, because this helps us quickly identify which reservation it is that you're referring to when we're working with you about anything of that nature. So definitely want to make sure that you write this down or print out the page, take a screenshot, whatever it is that you need to do.
You get printed out under more actions.
Yeah, down under this more action, you can go to print report, and it might look a little bit differently for you because I have the confirmations and all of that stuff as an approver, but you can print out the this page or this report essentially via that button down there. So that's the event form in a quick nutshell. Are there any other questions about this specific tool before I stop sharing my screen?
No, you did a good job.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
When you go to log out, when you hit the up in the right-hand corner, it says changes you made may not have been saved. So that's a scary comment. But I don't think it's true. I think once you've got it down and you have that number, you're okay. But when you go to log out, it does say that.
Yeah, it will give you that warning because it will allow you to have multiple event forms open at the same time. So if there's an event form that you were working on but didn't quite finish and you started another one and finished before you log out, it'll just kind of give you that warning. But if you have that reference code, then you should be good to go.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to show you some different tips and tricks in your setup of 25 Live that might be helpful. As you can see, again, our screens look different. This is the home page, and you'll see like there's the nerd inside of me is like, oh, these are the fun things I get to do, right? So the starred locations, start events, quick searches, starts, location searches, these are all things that are customizable, so that makes your life easier. So the first thing and Jordan had talked about it before, is want to just give you some navigation tools around the system. So we have the up here, what people call maybe like the hamburger or the, it's not the waffle because the waffle is the little dot. So this is like your hamburger under more. My favorite view is my availability view, because when I do that, it gives me a broader view of like open to close, all the space, and where things are happening. So, which is better than a calendar view, because I'll show you real quick the calendar view. isn't as helpful. The calendar view is more set up to say, oh, there's stuff happening, cool. And if you were trying to find a time when things were available by doing this, I think it would take you a while to get through there. So availability is going to be your best friend. You can also adjust your times. I have my time there, so let me just do that. So you can see it more clearly or whatever the case may be. So up here in this spot here and under the locations, this is where you can look at building by building. So if you're just looking in Main Hall or Brandywine or Sykes, you would click on Sykes meeting rooms and it will show you the primary rooms. Okay. And then you can, I don't know if you have this include requested. I think that's just ours because we can see like if there's pending reservations that are from our task list. And then here in the calendar, you can change what date you're on. So if you need to look ahead or jump ahead a month or whatever the case may be, you can do that. So that's the best view to go to kind of see what the availability is for that space.
And Clayton, where did you go in? I had my
Yeah.
screen. I couldn't see where you went in.
So this top right section here under more availability.
Okay, got it.
So the next thing I want to show you is how to create a custom search. So same area under more, you would go to the search. And then the first step is are you doing an event search, a location search, resource search, whatever the case may be. For this, let's say we're going to do a location search. So you'd select location. And then I always switch it over to advanced, the toggle here. And then I'm going to add criteria. Locations, maybe not. Wait, let's go back here. Let me start over. Quick search, do quick search. I was going to go the wrong way. So say I wanted to do Sykes. So Jordan told us SYK is our thing. I'm just going to go ahead and hit search. Loading. So this is going to show me all of the Sykes spaces. Okay. I believe now this is where I'm going to hit advanced. Oh, save as. That's what I want. So say you're building a search, you have to like layer it. And this is where it gets a little challenging, but when you create a search and save it, it's attached to your profile. And so nobody else has that same search, right? And I don't think there's a way to share it broadly. But so I want to save this as Sykes. I'll hit save as, and it's going to give me this. So I'm going to say Sykes test so I don't keep it. And I want to add it to my starred searches. Yes. Take a second to load. So now, I guess you can share it. So now you have a basic saved search. So when you go back into, say, your availability, things are really slow today, apparently. And you're trying to look for the location, you can do the drop down and you can find your one that you called. So we say it was like Barb search. You could click on that and it's going to show you all the spaces that you saved in that search. Okay. Now there's a way to edit your search. And that's if you go back to your locations, you go back to this same search here. And I believe it's within the advanced. You can look. So what's another building, Barb, you use a lot?
the business building, the commons. I think it's something BPC, Business Public Commons or something, BPC, I think is its code.
Why can't I do it?
I just did one for Anderson if you want to switch that.
I think it is under add criteria, Clayton.
Is it?
Yeah, and then you go to locations and specific locations.
There we go.
Yep.
So BPC, yeah. So in here, say you use 101 a lot, you use 102 a lot,
Use 102.
you use 210 a lot, you do that. Then you can say those are the only 3 you want to do. So you're going to do that, you're going to go done. So now those are going to show up in this search as well, once you save it to this test. So
Hit search. And then it should populate them into the drop down.
no, it searched the Anderson. I need to
Just
get
kidding.
that. Yeah, it did save it. So now I'm going to save it as, override it. So now it's here. And now let's see, let's retest this again down here. So now it's just these spaces. So like you can add and remove spaces, and there's a weird thing that's happening right now because I usually can just click one thing and I can add and drop things. So I'm not sure where I'm messing it up. So I'll have to play with that. But if you ever want, I can help you build a search with all the spaces if you know which spaces you want. And that way you can have a specific saved search. That way when you go to your availability, it's there. Because for example, I'll give you an example of one of the ones I've done is I have a Sykes key report with all of our rooms that now require key checkout. That's all I'll see versus seeing all the Sykes spaces. So there's ways to manipulate the reports to show different spaces. So like even if Barb, you had a list of, because you're asking great questions, I'm picking on you. If you have a bunch of rooms that you always use and fields you always use, and it'd just be easier instead of having to go like to here and then to here, then to here, just to see it all in one spot, we can easily create a saved search for you for that.
Thanks. When I just learned how you can go in, I needed to find a space for 150 people. So I just did that. I couldn't find a space. So now I went back to who was requested it, and they're just going to have to limit it because there was nothing available. So, but I had to go through each, like I clicked on each building, but you could search for a number of people, which I just discovered this morning. Yeah.
Trying to think if there's another. No. The other thing that's, I think, kind of helpful is, say you're in the Sykes buildings and you're like, I don't know like what this room is about. You can hover over it and it will tell you, I think if you even click on it as well, it's going to give you room specific information. And Jordan had mentioned earlier that we are in the process of adding room layouts and things of that nature. So you won't see some of this because we're an admin, but if you were to click on a conference square rectangle over here, it would have links to a layout image and layout diagram so you could see what that looks like. So that's where that will live. So if you're trying to pick a room and you're trying to pick a layout, and even in the event form, you can still click on the room and it should open up that room into a different page where you can kind of look at that. So if you're between two things, you can at least have a visual of what that's going to look like.
That is going to be very helpful. Today, when I hover over it, sometimes there's a picture, and that's very helpful because sometimes they want tiered, sometimes they don't want. A lot of times they want just tables. They don't want the desk set up. So like that's really important for me. So I like when I can hover over it and there's a picture there.
Yeah.
So I would like to learn how to do that part.
Yeah, so we're in the process right now. We use a diagramming system called social tables, where if you've worked on me, I know Lynn, we've worked on a few with the racetrack, I call it, in the ballrooms, where we can actually develop like an entire layout in the ballrooms for 115 or 10A. But we're working on our standard layouts, and those will all live in 25 Live as well as our website too. So where you can see like, this is 115, and these are the 4 options that are like a standard set in 115 that you can select. That way you have a more visual aid for that. So I know we're getting close, before Diane or Lexi tell us we're getting close to the end of time. There's a lot of other options. We were going to talk a little bit about meeting room technology, but I'll just preface that by saying, as making reservations and what's available in Sykes, most of our meeting room, all of our meeting rooms have some sort of technology in them. We do have 3 meeting rooms that have a hybrid Zoom technology, and those are smaller conference rooms. That's Sykes 251, 257, and 218. And what that allows is like for a small group of folks to gather and connect a laptop to a screen monitor in the room that also has a camera that points back at the room, so you can do hybrid meetings that way. So again, those are 251, 257, and 218. They're smaller capacity rooms, but right now that's what we have to offer. We also offer Ramcast is in most every room except for 2, and we're working on updating that. And we are in the process of trying, once we can spend the money, we'd like to add some more Zoom rooms. So the theater would be one, and some of our larger meeting rooms on the 2nd floor will have those as well. So there's more of this hybrid piece, especially for any conferences or any special meetings that we may be having. So those are all available as well.
Is there a dashboard for us? I guess it might be under our name to show the things that we've requested, all of the things that we've requested?
I believe in your home, if you go to your home page, in the middle here, there's your upcoming events.
Oh, okay.
Where you're the requester or scheduler. And if you clicked on that, it should give you a list of all of those events.
Okay. Feels so long since I've used this, since we've not been booking rooms.
Yeah, so here you can see that.
Okay.
What the status is. And
thank you.
Yeah, great question. Are there any other questions while we have a few minutes?
Hey, Clayton,
I just have a question.
I don't have a question. I just want to say it's been really awesome working with you. I appreciate your flexibility with us, and I appreciate your willingness to go the extra mile. I don't know Jordan yet, but I look forward to working with you. I really appreciate all your help. I really just, if no one's told you today, I'm psyched that you're here. So
appreciate
absolutely.
it.
You've been great helping me, so that is awesome. So I'm trying to book for peer ed training for the spring semester. And like Sykes is totally booked, but it doesn't have specifics. It just says orientation, orientation, orientation. Are they all like absolutely, or is that somebody just blanketed reserved them?
Yeah, so there's been a practice in the past where people were putting blanket holds on space because they know they needed space, but they didn't know what they needed, like all the space for. I think there's a difference between, I'll pick on Lexi since she's here, for family weekend, we know we need like the ballroom 115 10A, right? But right. I think there's been a past where people are like, I'm not sure, so I'm going to book every single space, and then they'll farm it out, or they're like, well, I have it, so you can use it. We're going to put an end to that and try to create more consistent approach and more specific reservation things. We are in the process of hopefully implementing a new process called advanced reservation that would go live in the spring. So I've been sharing that information with folks, and I can share with you the document that we've put out there as well as a tentative process. But what that would be is like, in looking to book for next academic year, we would collect applications through RAM Connect that are capturing information about your event. And then we would go through as an office and do some priority and some other things of that nature to kind of capture those events and be more specific so we have less of these holes. So trying to create a little bit more, I guess, fairness, for lack of a better word, with space reservations, because it's inevitable that some people are capitalizing on space, and or if they're thinking a year out ahead, like right now, well, not currently, but before, right now, you could have started booking for November 4th of 2022. Right now you can't, because I put a blackout on all of next year. So no reservations can be made from August 1 to August 1. Because we want to kind of stop people from like major booking like every single space in the building. And we're in the process of trying some new things to help it make it easier for what things like you're sharing, Barb. If that makes sense. That's a lot of talking, but
those are what we're looking for is a smaller event, just the peer ed training. Those are small things, because I know Jamie's trying to get me to book Fresh Check Day for next year, which would be the quad, a big thing. And then once the new system is in place, you would give us enough notice that if we had to change, it would be before we printed posters and put things out there. That's what that's probably designed for too, so that we have enough time to change dates and stuff if we can't get. Yeah.
So for example, this one would be, we would say like, you fill out the form this February for next academic year. So August 2022 through August 2023. And then by March, sometime the end of March, you would have confirmation of when your event would be for the following year. So it's going to require some folks to think ahead, which I think is always a good thing, right? Got to challenge the system a little there, but it will allow us that opportunity. So,
will you send an email out when you finalize that process, Clayton?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm working with Sabrina on a communications and marketing plan for everyone. Once we kind of get we're good and okay to start doing that process.
Thank you.
And always with training, like if you ever need help, just give us a call and we'll walk you through it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Clayton and Jordan. This was a great session. I think a lot of people I think a lot of the folks here got a lot out of it, but I know that watching this in the future will also get a lot out of it. Learning how to use the system better and maximizing our time is super helpful. So thank you both. I'm going to share my screen with the assessment code so that folks can fill that out if they would like. We hope you will. We've got the QR code, and also I will throw the link in the chat. But thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for being a part of our Gold Conference.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, appreciate you both. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Guess we're good.
All right, bye y'all. Thank you.
See ya. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.